Imran Khan said at the time, it's an angry Baloch blood. Huh? You really want to know? I was the first Mazari woman to marry not only outside the Mazari clan but a non-Baloch as well. We are the first country in South Asia to have this National Action Plan on business and human rights. Actually, I was born in Lahore. My family, the Mazari tribe, actually settled in Rajanpur in South Punjab. And we are a Baloch family, but because my father was very progressive, and so I actually didn't feel any discrimination or any problems growing up as a girl child within the family environment. And I think if girls are not discriminated against within the family, they find it much easier to assert themselves in the wider society. And I think that's what helped me overcome problems I may have confronted in my life growing up, as a student and then maturing into going to university and so on. When I was growing up and going to school, Mazari girls were by and large not sent to school beyond the primary level. And then I married outside the Mazari clan. In fact, I was the first Mazari woman to marry not only outside the Mazari clan but a non-Baloch as well. So I suppose in the background there was this tribal restrictive system, but I was not subjected to it mercifully. I didn't study particularly hard, but I was okay in my studies. I never had a problem. And then I went to the London School of Economics. And I think there for the first time, really, I became aware of the racism, underlying racism that prevails in Western countries. It's a strange sort of discrimination. They don't openly target you, but you can sense it. But despite that, at that time the London School of Economics was quite a radical place to be in. There were a lot of foreign students, a big batch of Indians and Pakistanis were there. So it was a very interesting time to grow up in, because this is the period of the Vietnam War, protests against that war. So there was a culture of resistance and protest amongst students, and so that became part of your growing up. You protested, you took out demonstrations. So it was a very interesting time to be a student. When Musharraf's coup happened, I was appointed as Director General of the Institute of Strategic Studies because I had a background in it. I had been a visiting lecturer at the National Defence College, which then became the National Defence University since Ziaul Haq's time. So I had that experience. I had the experience of teaching for 16 years in Defence and Strategic Studies. So I was appointed there. And when the PPP government came, I guess Mr. Hussain Haqqani and Mr. Zardari did not agree with my views. I was critical of the US, of the black water and so on. The first things they did was remove me from the institute, and that is when I had committed to Imran Khan that when he was forming the PTI, he came to ask me whether I would join, and I said, at the moment I'm a government servant, I'm a teacher. The moment I leave this and I want to come into politics, I will come and join your party. So the day that I was asked to leave the Institute of Strategic Studies, I made a decision that I would enter politics, and I went straight to Banigala and told the then chairman of the party that I'm here and I'm joining, and that was it. I've always been political. There was no choice but to join PTI, because the idea of joining a family party which had a lot of question marks and charges of corruption, and the idea that unless you were a family member you couldn't quite make it to the hierarchy, and unless you bowed before and did Ji Hazuri, as it were, you could not really get very far in family dominated parties. And also, but more important to me was Imran Khan's foreign policy vision. It was one of an independent foreign policy, and it was opposed to American imperialism. And I think that is what was the deciding factor for me on which party I should join. I left for about 2 months or so, but if you check the record, I never went public on criticizing the leadership. And I was in touch with the chairman throughout those 2 or 3 months, and he knew I would come back, and I did. I just wanted to make a point. As Imran Khan said at the time, it's an angry Baloch blood. So I rejoined after that. It was an interesting experience. The opposition was small, and PTI only had 30 plus one or two other members. But I think we made our point on issues. We took strong principled stands, and it was a great learning experience of how democracy and the parliamentary process in Pakistan works. And one learnt of the pitfalls of parliamentary procedures also. So it was an interesting and a learning experience more than anything else. No, we were expecting that we would win because people were fed up of the other two parties, and there was a big vote bank swelling up for PTI. A lot of the educated middle class youth and even families who normally didn't bother voting, they came out to vote for PTI. So we were able to democratize in a way a class that really didn't bother voting, and that helped us win elections, especially in the urban areas. Well, let me put it this way, it may not have been my first choice, but I was not going to get the first choice. So I asked the Prime Minister for this ministry because I knew what it entailed. And you know, the Prime Minister and a lot of us in PTI were committed to taking positions on enforced disappearances, anti-torture, and Imran Khan used to go to Amna Janjua's protests also, and I used to go to them as well. So I knew that these issues would come to the Ministry of Human Rights, and we could perhaps do something about a lot of the human rights issues. So I actually did request the Prime Minister. You really want to know?
Now I really want to know what was the first one.
Oh, I think we've best forgotten.
Okay.
I think we have done a remarkable lot of work from a very small ministry. We have passed, from the ministry has drafted and passed 6 legislations. One is from the Zainab Alert Bill law. We have done persons with disability law. We have done the journalist protection and media persons protection law. We have done senior citizens law. We have added an amendment in the 1991 Child Employment Act and made domestic child labour illegal. We have also, for the first time, expanded through our amendment in the Parliament the harassment at workplace law, which had a very narrow definition of workplace. So this is very revolutionary, I think, and it doesn't only relate to women being harassed, transgenders, other vulnerable groups also. We are working on prison reforms, trying to get enforced the Mandela rules, which are the international standard for prisons, and the Bangkok rules which deliberately, specifically deal with women prisoners. So we have done a lot of awareness programs in schools relating to child abuse, then on gender violence, on transgender law, which, by the way, is one of the most progressive laws in the world, where we allow transgenders to choose their own identity, and we have a separate column in our national ID cards and passports, which almost, I think, hardly any other country does. We have also, by the way, passed the Legal Aid and Justice Authority law, and now we have a DG who's there, and the money has come, so we will be providing free legal help to people needing it. So there are all these things that we have done, and one of which I think, which I'm very proud of, is we have got approval from the cabinet for our business and human rights national action plan, and we are the first country in South Asia to have this national action plan on business and human rights, and the third country in Asia, the whole of Asia. Civil society and the people have to change their mindsets also. That is why awareness programs are very important. People's thinking has to change. We still refer to murders of women as honor killing. There's nothing honorable in it. We should not use that term. There's plain simple murder. We had our International Women's Day, which we observed on the 7th, one day ahead of the actual day, and we invited women businesses who are developing their businesses in conjunction with the climate change and environment. So they are environment friendly businesses, and they're very innovative businesses. So our young generation is more aware, is more ready to fight for its rights in terms of women's rights, and is more enterprising also. So I find it's very encouraging in Pakistan that women are moving ahead.